Welcome everybody, I'm Chris. It's time to dive into shows you love, you hate, or you never saw. On today's episode, we're going to be tuning into an often overlooked show, Wes Craven's Nightmare Café. So grab your TV tray, nuke your kid cuisine, but don't touch that dial.
The movie.
Back here, people remind him outside.
The year was 1992, and the director Wes Craven, with The Nightmare on Elm Street in his rearview mirror and Scream on the horizon, would make a show that would run on NBC for a meager 6 episodes. It was quickly canceled due to lackluster ratings, however it would eventually find a cult following, and today we're going to dive into the weird and strange show that is Nightmare Café. I'll be breaking down this video into parts so we can better discuss the show and why I love it so much. So let's begin with part 1. Characters and their backgrounds. Let's first begin with the cast, most notably the great Robert Englund, playing the cafe owner Blackie and maybe something a bit more. We also have Jack Coleman playing Frank, and if you're not familiar with who he is, he played Noah Bennett on that show Heroes that was also on NBC back in the day. He's also in one of my other favorite shows, Kingdom Hospital, which we definitely will be covering in the future once I get my hands on that recent Blu-ray release, so look forward to that. Our other main character is Faye, played by the lovely Lindsay Frost. We start the show with both Frank and Faye on a dock, and they come across a late-night cafe aptly named The Night Cafe. The first episode is basically an introduction to the characters and how they ended up here. Well, wherever here is. So I'm briefly going to break down how these characters came to be at the Night Cafe. So let's begin with Frank, who is a night watchman for a chemical company, and one time on his late night peruses through the company, he finds out that they are illegally dumping chemicals into the nearby river. The first time we go through these events, Frank runs away and ultimately loses his life. However, he does get a chance to undo this later in the episode, where he's able to prevent the dumping of the chemicals, but still does perish. We then move on to Faye, who of course is dating the dirtbag who's the one doing all of the illegal dumping. She goes to his hotel room to give him a gift, only to find that he is with another woman, and this dude has the balls to call her the maid in front of her. What a douchebag. She does, however, seize an opportunity to take a file that will expose him for all his wrongdoing. This will come up later in the episode when this dude does get his comeuppance, but we then learn that Frank and Faye do have some ability to alter the wrongs in their scenarios. Though they cannot undo their deaths, they can fix some of the wrongs that have been made. Faye, instead of driving and being distraught from, the experience she just had and jumping off the bridge, she's actually run off the bridge by her boyfriend, who is just chasing her because he's furious with what just happened. So they then end up back in the cafe, and it's cutting back and forth, and then the dude comes in, and what ends up happening is Blackie's like, you know what? I'm gonna help you guys out, and you're gonna see what is actually available to you when you're here in this cafe. So they end up judging this dude. He gets his comeuppance and is thrown out. And then we get the explanation of kind of what this show is going to be. And Blackie informs them that, like, hey, I need a cook, I need a waitress, and what you're basically gonna do is there's gonna be people that are drawn into this cafe, and they're gonna need your help, and they're gonna need your assistance, and that's what we're here for. So I do like this opening to the show. It's a very compelling start with the show. So I'm happy with where we are, and in the next part, we're gonna kind of find out how the show structure is and what the reception was. So let's get into part 2. Okay, so Nightmare Café is primarily a show about redemption and second chances for those who are drawn to the otherworldly cafe. Each episode starts with a new patron, and we work through whatever issues this individual is struggling with. Although the main characters are the same across the 6 episodes, the episodes themselves are mostly self-contained stories, which I like this aspect of the show. While I do like the overall anthology nature of the show can be a bit all over the place tonally, with humor, comedy, sci-fi. It's everywhere yet nowhere all at the same time. I always got the sense watching this show that there were some behind the scenes issues with the production, and this was later confirmed when I started researching the show for this video. I found that while Wes Craven did help create and write some of the show, he was not actually on set for the filming of the show, which is a bit odd. However, he was filming Shocker at the time, so I understand why he couldn't be in two places at once. This is somewhat evident in the end result though, and Craven would later go on to say that what we learned was if you're not there on a project, it will take on the characteristics of whoever is there, which is very telling for the production of this show. That leads us to the overall reception of this short-lived show. While the initial reception to the pilot was mixed to somewhat positive, the show would eventually find itself in some turmoil between low ratings and a writer's strike happening at the time. This was ultimately what led to the cancellation of the show after only 6 episodes. I would have liked to see what would have come in a second season with the feedback that they did get, both positive and negative. Alas, we will never know what this would have been. I suppose if you ever come across a late night cafe, maybe you'll be able to find out. Alright, it's part 3, so let's get into my overall thoughts on Wes Craven's Nightmare Café, or whoever the dude's cafe that filmed it, because Wes Craven wasn't there. But anyway, I like this show conceptually because it's got a lot of weird things going for it, but its tone is all over the place, and it's got some really high highs, but some low lows. So that's kind of where I sit at it. It's not quite a Twilight Zone, but it's also not a turd, so it's kind of somewhere in the middle for me. I think if they had had time to go into further seasons and more episodes, they probably could have executed better. Maybe Wes Craven could have been more involved, but that's neither here nor there. That's a fairy dream that we will never have. Anyway, I like what we've got. It still sits in this weird spot of horror TV kind of sci-fi stuff that I really enjoy, that I think is underappreciated. So the next show we're going to be covering is Kingdom Hospital. I love Kingdom Hospital. I mentioned it earlier in the video. I've ordered it. I just got to wait for it to come in, and then I'll start work on that. So this is going to be a bi-monthly series, so it's not going to be every month. It's going to be bi-monthly, which will give me enough time to kind of watch the shows, dive in, do some research, and then get these filmed and edited, because they do take a little longer than my normal videos. So look forward to that, and then I'm going to link some videos for you now so you can continue on the channel. But before we do that, let me know down below if you've got any shows that you think I would like to cover on this channel for this series, that obscure, underappreciated, nothing like the Twilight Zone, nothing big like the X-Files, nothing like that, just some smaller stuff that you think I haven't heard of, or maybe that you love that people don't talk about anymore. I'd love to cover it in this channel on the series. God, what am I doing? On the channel in this series. I'm losing my mind. I've watched too much Nightmare Café. Maybe I need to go in and get some help. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. I just want to say this before we end the video. This is actually the video idea that kind of sparked me to create this channel in the first place. So it's kind of awesome and full circle that I am finally releasing it and I am moving forward. So look forward to many more in the future. And then, like I said, I'm gonna link some videos for you now so you can continue on the channel. So I'll link my A24 horror journey. I'm in the midst of that. I'm going through all of the A24 horror movies. So it's gonna be a long trek, but we'll get there someday. And then I'm gonna link my physical media 4K reviews if you're into that thing as well. So that's all I've got. Subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.